Okay, so let's talk about one of the biggest career crossroads pretty much everyone faces at some point. Do you go for the steady, secure government job, or do you dive into the fast-paced, dynamic private sector? It feels like a huge decision, so let's break it down and figure out which path might actually be right for you.
You've heard this a million times, right? Your parents, your teachers, everyone says it's the safe choice. But this question, it really gets to the heart of the matter. In a world that is just changing so incredibly fast, does that old definition of security really equal success anymore? Hmm.
And that's the crazy part, isn't it? The whole idea of a dream job is being totally rewritten right before our eyes. You've got AI, you've got nimble startups popping up everywhere, and the explosion of remote work. It's all making this classic choice between government and private way more complicated than it used to be. All right, so before we put them head to head, let's just make sure we're on the same page. Let's get really clear on the fundamental DNA of these two career worlds. What are we actually talking about here? So, a government job, its whole foundation is built on stability and public service. You can think of it like a very steady, very clear ladder. The salary is fixed, the promotions follow a predictable structure, and for the most part, you know what to expect from your workload. And of course, the big carrot at the end of the stick, those really solid retirement benefits. Now, let's flip the coin and look at the private sector. This world is a totally different beast. It runs on two things: innovation and results. It's a much more competitive space where your income is often directly tied to how well you perform. The workload, it can be intense, it can be unpredictable, but the whole system is designed to reward you for being fast, creative, and super adaptable. Okay, now for the main event. Let's really get into it. We're going to put these two paths right next to each other and look at the real, tangible trade-offs you're making with either choice. This table really just lays it all out, doesn't it? I mean, look at the trade-offs. With a government job, you get that high security and a strong pension plan, but you're trading that for slower income growth and way less room for innovation. The private sector just flips that script completely. Your potential to earn a lot more, a lot faster is there, and innovation is the name of the game. But that comes with higher pressure, less job security, and a retirement that, well, it pretty much depends entirely on you. But look, a career is so much more than just a list of pros and cons on paper. It's about how it affects your mind, your bank account, and just your day-to-day culture. So let's dig a little deeper into the more personal side of this whole thing. And this gets to the psychological core of it all. Each path really taps into a different fundamental human need. Think about Maslow's hierarchy, right? Government jobs are fantastic at satisfying that second level, our need for safety and security. It gives you real peace of mind. Private jobs, on the other hand, they're aiming for the very top of that pyramid: self-actualization, personal growth. It's less about peace of mind and more about that incredible rush you get from creating something new and succeeding. Let's just put it as bluntly as possible. If the idea of doing the same thing day in and day out absolutely drives you nuts, yeah, the private sector is probably where you belong. But if you're the kind of person who just can't stand constant change, shifting deadlines, and that feeling of organized chaos, then the structure and predictability of a government job is going to feel like a safe harbor. This quote, wow. It just nails the financial trade-off perfectly, doesn't it? That predictable government salary gives you a ton of comfort. But that comfort has a price tag. And that price is often the opportunity for explosive income growth that you might find through bonuses or startup equity in the private world. Okay, but we can't just think about today. We have to look ahead, because the career you choose now has to make sense in the world of tomorrow. So how are all these huge global trends like AI actually changing this whole debate? And this right here, this is a total game changer. What we're seeing is that the private sector is just adapting way faster to things like remote work and AI. But the real key takeaway is this: future-proof job security isn't about company security anymore, it's about skill security. Your ability to learn and adapt is quickly becoming way more valuable than whatever job title you have. So, after all of that, what's the real bottom line? What's the final verdict? Well, the truth is, there's no single better path. There just isn't. The best choice is the one that's aligned with who you are, what you value, and what you really truly want from your life. So think of this table as your own personal guide. It's pretty simple. If what you value most is stability and a predictable routine, the government path is a fantastic fit. If you're driven by creativity and a constant need to grow and be challenged, the private sector is calling your name. And if your number one driver is making an impact, well, the good news is you can find that purpose in both worlds. It just really depends on the specific role you land. And here's the thing, no matter which one you pick, you're not making a wrong choice. You're just choosing what you want to learn. This super structured, rule-based world of government work, it will build incredible discipline. The constantly shifting, dynamic environment of the private sector, it forces you to become amazingly adaptable. Both are just incredibly powerful life skills. And so maybe when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to this one powerful question. It's not to say that safe and significant can't exist together, but they do often pull you in very different directions. What you choose to prioritize, that's what's going to define your journey. And that's really the final, most important takeaway here. It doesn't matter if you end up in a government office or a fast-growing tech startup. The one thing you absolutely cannot afford to do is to stop learning. Because in the end, your real career isn't defined by where you work, but by how quickly you can evolve. Your real job title is lifelong learner.